Mangwanani Malelepo Vukenjani Klektos Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa. Good morning. The news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Mbedi. These are some of the top stories you can expect in this broadcast. Kenyan teenager becomes third fastest man ever in the 800-meter race. And youth take part in basic income grant protest in Namibia. Talent Gore will also bring us the news stories stemming from Zimbabwe, and Ari Hohad will bring us the sport. This is Africa. Good morning. Top stories after the break.
Neo Paints has established a 67-year Namibian legacy, creating personalized paint solutions that blend quality and innovation for the Namibian people. We pride ourselves in being a 100% Namibian-owned company, investing in our country and our people by employing and empowering true Namibians. With every brushstroke, Neo Paints commits to our quality guarantee and always delivering a coat of excellence. At Neo Paints, we always stay true to our country. We are as Namibian as you.
We start our top stories in Namibia, where a large crowd of people, especially young people, took part in a march on Saturday morning in support of the basic income grant of $500 Namibian per person per month. A complaint was submitted to the Minister of Gender Equality, Eradication of Poverty and Social Welfare, Doreen Sioka. Now, the campaign was launched by the Basic Income Grant Coalition of Namibia, and one of the coordinators believes that they have been trying to get the grant implemented for more than 19 years. According to the complaint, the group demands that the government fulfill its obligation in terms of Article 95 of the Namibian Constitution, which promises the promotion of the welfare of the people. Now, the protesters emphasized in their complaint that young people make up the largest part of the country's population and argued that they must be assured of a future. Moving over to the Vatican, Pope Francis called on national and international authorities to take action to stop the bloodshed in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo following a week in which dozens were killed in the North Kivu province. At the end of his weekly Sunday prayers on St. Peter's Square, he said the victims included many Christians. Painful news continues to arrive of battles and massacres that are happening in the eastern part of the Democratic Republic of Congo, the pontiff said. I appeal to the national authorities and the international community to do all that is possible to stop the violence and protect civilian lives. He said many Christians were among the victims of the recent attacks. Francis said they were killed in hatred of their faith and described them as martyrs. Some very good news from Kenya. In particular, we're talking about athletics. Teenager Emmanuel Wanyonyi ran the fastest 800 meters since 2012 at the Kenyan Athletics Olympics trials in Nairobi on Saturday to qualify for the Paris Games. Despite almost failing to qualify for the finals after he tripped and fell during Friday's semi-finals, he clocked a time of 1:41.70 on Saturday, making him the third fastest man ever in the event. If I didn't fall yesterday, I would not have run like this today, so everything happens for a reason, the 19-year-old said. Only Kenya's two-time Olympic champion David Rudisha and Denmark's Wilson Kipketer have run faster times. Rudisha holds the world record of 1 minute 40 seconds and 91 split seconds and has also run the second and third fastest times. Now, moving over to next door, Cyril Ramaphosa pledged to work with politicians across the political spectrum after being re-elected as president of South Africa by lawmakers on Friday. Now, his re-election comes after his African National Congress party struck a dramatic late coalition deal with the main opposition party, the DA, and others to allow him to clinch a second term in office. Ramaphosa won convincingly in a parliamentary vote against a surprise candidate, Julius Malema, the leader of the far-left economic freedom fighters. Ramaphosa won 283 votes to Malema's 44 in the 400-member House. The 71-year-old Ramaphosa secured his second term with the help of lawmakers from the second biggest Democratic Alliance party and others after the ANC lost its 30-year parliamentary majority in a landmark election just 2 weeks ago. Stay with Africa Good Morning, because after the break, Talent Gore brings us the latest news stories from Zimbabwe.
The Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, in collaboration with the Namibia Tourism Board and the Ondonga Traditional Authority, will be hosting the Itotha Carnival at the Kangonde Sotpan in the Oshikoto region from 27 June to 1st July 2024. Expect a fun-filled weekend including traditional dishes, cookout competitions, totem parades, traditional games, horse riding, skydiving and quad biking. Accommodation facilities will be available at cost. The Itotha Carnival, celebrating our ancient heritage.
All right, it's time for us to talk to Talent Gore. I was just looking at the numbers in her first story, and I'm going to need her to verify that for us. Talent Wamkase.
Mamkase Africa.
All right, so former Public Service and Labor and Social Welfare Minister Priska Mufumira acquitted of charges of defrauding the National Social Security Council of $90 million US.
Yes, she was acquitted on Friday. She has been in and out of the courts for the past, I think, 5-6 years over this same issue. Apparently, she was being charged of defrauding the National Social Security Authority of 90 million United States dollars. She was initially charged together with Barnabas Matongera, was also facing charges of criminal abuse of office, and he was also acquitted. So Mupumi was accused of giving specific instructions to the National Social Security Authority to enter into a housing project with a company with one certain company, and it was also alleged that the former minister gave specific instructions National Social Security Authority to proceed with a housing project, which ought to have been done in compliance with tender procedures. Apparently, all of this was done without the approval of the Board of Directors from the National Social Security Authority. So in acquitting it on Friday, the magistrate said that the state failed to prove a case against the former minister to secure a conviction. He said that up to the accused, accordingly, the accused is not found guilty and is acquitted. He also said that the ex-minister cannot be held responsible for failure by NASA to subject the project to the Procurement Authority of Zimbabwe regulations. So you find out that the National Social Security was under her ministry, which is the public service. So the national security is one responsible for taking care of people after they're done with their jobs, or after they are unemployed, or after they have retired. They have to give them money for their upkeep each and every month. So as it stands right now, you find out that the National Social Security Authority in Zimbabwe has been struggling and has been given monies that do not buy anything. You find out that the people are getting as little as 10 United States dollars. So they're saying that the citizens in Zimbabwe are saying that it's not that she has to walk away from such a crime. She embezzled 90 million United States dollars from the National Social Security Authority, and right now she has been acquitted of that crime. So it's quite a scene right now, because
I mean,
people are
of
not
course, it
happy.
would be Talent, because to be acquitted of $90 million, you really have to justify that. People aren't crazy to have brought $90 million to the table. Like, I would understand if you're acquitted for 5 million or 1 million or something technical. But so it is in the Zimbabwean courts. I do remember that the president appointed 11 judges last week, some of whom had failed the public interviews. But who are we to judge? However, in a related story, criminal activities surge across Zimbabwe.
Yes, Zimbabwe recorded 221,704 criminal cases between January and March this year alone. Well, this was reviewed by the Zimbabwe National Statistics Agency, which said that the national crime rate stood up at 1,406 per 100,000, a slight uptake from 1,459, which was observed in the fourth quarter of 2023. The Zimbabwe National Statistics Agency said that in the 2024 first quarter, crime statistics were 266 cases of intentional homicide recorded in that period, reflecting a rate of 1.8 offenses. They also said that the police are the ones who give them these records so that they just put them all together and give the country the statistics. But right now they're saying that Zimbabwe is recording a surge in the crime rate, and it is quite high than last year. Right now the crimes have gone up other than last year. They were a bit lower, but right now they have gone up, and the government has to do something to ensure that the crime rate doesn't go up, that it is moving right now.
All right. Now, the fines for those dealing in drug and substance abuse is tabled. The government wants to table it to increase it from United States dollars to $400.
Yes, it approved an upward review of fines of up to $400 United States dollars from $30, and a jail up to 2 years for those convicted of dealing in drugs and substance abuse. Right now, the government seeks to combat the vice, and there have been a lot of campaigns that are being done, that are happening in Zimbabwe, because right now Zimbabwe is battling a serious drug abuse scourge. So the government has approved an upward review of the fines from $30 United States dollars to $500 United States dollars, or 2 years imprisonment. So the government for the past 10 years, Zimbabwe has been battling a serious drug abuse. You find out that people are abusing drugs. You find out that they are doing meth, cocaine, marijuana, all sort of drugs, and the government is battling that scourge. Right now, there are a number of rehabilitation centers which are being opened, and some they are actually expanding the rehabilitation centers that are available to ensure that they cater for everyone who is with drugs. Most of the people that are struggling with drugs right now are the youth, and the government is working flat out to ensure that the drug abuse scourge is dealt with.
All right, Talent. We'll certainly see how that unfolds. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is crystal meth still legal?
Apparently, in Zimbabwe, there's no law that bans crystal meth. So if one is caught with crystal meth, they cannot be convicted, because in the constitution there is no law that
So to be clear, the government is dealing with the people who are abusing substances before actually making some of these substances illegal. Like, no one is focusing on this in Parliament. It's just about the results of it. Am I missing something here?
Yes, so there has been debates whereby the people are saying that we should include that in the constitution, in the law. We should include that crystal meth is illegal in Zimbabwe. But right now, nothing has been done in that regard. So we're just going to be monitoring the situation to see how the parliament is going to respond, if they're going to include that into the constitution of Zimbabwe. But as of now, there is no law which says that crystal meth is illegal in Zimbabwe.
All right. Thank you very much, Talent, for bringing us the news stories as they are from Zimbabwe. I'd also like to get, that story of Sir Wicknow sometime in the week. It seems to be developing quite interesting. Lee, thank you, Talent.
Bring it to you on Thursday.
All right. Awesome. Talent says she'll bring us the story. Sir Wicknow. Interesting story also related to tender and procurement and corruption in Zimbabwe. However, it's time for us to have a look at the weather before we return with your economic news.
The Ministry of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, in collaboration with the Namibia Tourism Board and the Ondonga Traditional Authority, will be hosting the Itotha Carnival at the Kangonde Sotpan in the Oshikoto region from 27th June to 1st July 2024. Expect a fun-filled weekend including traditional dishes, cookout competitions, totem parades, traditional games, horse riding, skydiving and quad biking. Accommodation facilities will be available at cost. The Itotha Carnival, celebrating our ancient heritage.
All right, we are looking at Namibia in our economic news story, where the Financial Intelligence Center is set to become an autonomous agency from the Bank of Namibia, under which it was previously housed. Now, this follows the signing into law of the Financial Intelligence Amendment Act, which will allow the law enforcement agency to function and operate independently from the central bank. Now, the FIC serves as Namibia's national center responsible for various functions, including those related to the financial intelligence unit and the prevention and combating of money laundering, terrorist financing and proliferation financing activities. Now, under the Act, the FIC's primary responsibility is to uphold the integrity of the Namibian financial system by preventing its misuse for money laundering, terrorist financing and proliferation financing activities. Let's have a look at the economic indicators before we return with the sport. All right, it's time for us to get the sporting news from Ari Horhad. Good morning, Ari.
Yes, a very good morning, Ashwin. Yes, it was a busy weekend of sport and lots happening all over the globe. I'll start off with the football. It is the Europe 2024 that's started. So that's lots of football that's going to be going on for a few months now, or for a month at least. And it is just quickly the host Germany that got off to a good start just before the weekend, beating Scotland by 5-1. What happened over the weekend is that England beat Serbia. That was a game played yesterday, 1-0. So off to a good start for England. Jade Bellingham that scored there for England, the 20-year-old. So it's a good start for them. They play against Denmark on Tuesday. And Denmark drew with Slovenia 1-1 in their first game. So there's 6 groups of 4 teams in the group. So they play a round robin. So lots of football almost every second day or every day of the week. So there's lots of football in Europe. Just 3 of the early favorites that's also that won over the weekend. Netherlands beat Poland 2-1. Spain beat Croatia, a good win for them, convincingly 3-0. And Italy beat Albania 2-1. So that's some of the results there on the football field. And on to the cricket. Let's start off, or let's go to the T20 World Cup. So it's a big tournament that's taking place in the West Indies. And it was Bangladesh that beat Nepal. That was the game that was played yesterday. And that was by that they qualified for the Super 8. So the Super 8s have been determined. That's Australia. They're batting against Scotland. And it was Australia that beat Scotland. That helped England to get into the Super 8. So just briefly, the 8 teams that qualified for the Super 8, it's India and the USA in Group A. the USA there because they beat Pakistan. That was a bit of a surprise then. And then it is Australia and England in Group B, Afghanistan and the West Indies in Group C, and South Africa and Bangladesh in Group D. So that's David Wiese. He retired. That is Trumpelman, sorry. That is him celebrating when he bowled Butler. So that was a brilliant wicket when Namibia played against England. But we're also proud of the Namibian team's performance in the West Indies. They unfortunately not in the Super 8, but accounted well against England in that last game as well. On to some rugby news, and it is the final of the United Rugby Championship that will be this coming weekend. The good news for South African supporters and for supporters in Pretoria is that the Bulls flew to the final and they will host it. So that is a big moment for them. They host it because Munster, the defending champions, also lost their semi-final against the Glasgow Warriors. But let's go a step back. It's the Bulls with an impressive win of 25 points to 20. That's them celebrating that. That was at Loftus in Pretoria. It was impressive because the Leinster team is about 80% of the starting 15 of the Ireland international team. And so the Bulls flew to the final, their second final. They played 2 years ago against the Stormers in Cape Town, the one that the Stormers won. And now it is the Bulls that can win their first URC title playing against the Glasgow Warriors this coming Saturday. Then just to close off in the early hours of this morning, US Open Golf, it's the done and dusted. It's Bryson DeChambeau that won the 124th US Open at Pinehurst. Very close finish in the end. He finished on 6 under par for his 4 rounds, Bryson DeChambeau. And it was Rory McIlroy just one shot back. And McIlroy had a good round going. He dropped 3 shots in his last 4 holes and missed 2 short putts in his last on the 16th and the 18th. But it was Bryson DeChambeau with a brilliant par on the 18th. He's the deserved winner of the US Open 2024. It was Patrick Cantley that was third on the 4 under par. So that's all the sports action for the weekend, or that happened over the weekend. And we'll continue to follow the T20 Cricket World Cup and Euro 24 in the week. Great sport week for everyone. Bye-bye.
Cheers, Adi. Thank you so much for that. It's something we certainly enjoyed throughout Namibia's journey at the ICC T20 Cricket World Cup was Caribbean Cricket Joe. And we understand Brian and Richard are on their way home along with the Richelieu Eagles. Stay with Africa Good Morning. Highlights after the break.
Voting now open. The Best of 061 Express Followers' Choice Awards. By voting, you stand a chance to win your share of 50,000 Namibian dollars in cash. From the 4th to the 23rd of June 2024. Do you know the best of the best in Windhoek? It's time to recognize them. Living in Windhoek, DIY home improvement. Glam it up, eating out, food, drinks, and be merry. Services, automotive, shopping, babies and kids, and travel and leisure. To vote, save the number 085 785 6231 and WhatsApp. Hashtag 061 Express or scan the QR code.
So a Kenyan teenager clocks the 3rd fastest 800 meter of all time in Namibia. Basic Income Grant March happens on Saturday. In Zimbabwe, the government is fighting substance abuse. And those have been some of our stories on Africa Good Morning. Do make sure you stay with us on DSTV 285, Core TV 25, oneup2.com and Network Media Hub on YouTube throughout the week. From me, Ashimberry and the Africa Good Morning team, Suraja Kanaka.